Welcome to the Purpose Chasers podcast, where adversity meets ambition and setbacks become setups for something greater. I'm your host, Mark Crandall. After walking away from a $5.1 million construction sale, enduring loss, betrayal, a season of darkness, and a pile of financial devastation, I came back to the one thing I can't shake, helping people live on purpose. This podcast isn't about chasing dollars, it's about chasing calling. Every week, we shine light on creators, entrepreneurs, and artists who refuse to quit. People who kept moving forward when life told them to sit down. If you've ever been knocked down, counted out, or told no, you're in the right place. Because here, we turn pain into power and purpose into impact. Let's dive into this week's episode. Purpose Chasers, welcome back to this episode. I'm very, very excited to have a longtime friend, first-time guest of the Purpose Chasers podcast, Kelly Resendez. And I met Kelly inside of a mastermind community many years ago. We were talking in an area of the show that's going to get edited out, and we can't really pinpoint it, but it was further back than 2019, maybe closer to 17. And we've maintained a friendship through her deep calling and her deep purpose of impacting women. And Kelly, so blessed to call you a sister. And I thank you for standing for me and with me through the months of us going back and forth to get you on the podcast to come talk about your calling of empowering women.
Yeah, I mean, it's divine timing, right, Mark? Like I truly believe that. And, I'm so grateful to be a guest here and to be able to share and to have met you through multiple different communities and just watched your journey along the way.
Cool. And with that, Kelly, I'm going to jump right into my first absolute softball question for you. All right, we'll wrap with that and he'll
Okay.
edit and weave that in. And thank you so much. And we'll
You're
scale the
welcome.
sale. Let's
Yeah.
let's talk tactics and
Yeah.
scaling. And I don't
100%.
even know where to go with that, but I want to make sure. Let me get in your email. I'd like to go back and forth. I don't need to give you the questions, but I want to make sure that it's like that
Yeah,
we
I
hit it.
really focus like when I'm speaking on scaling on like the 5 things that I really look at that a
Cool. So
company
you're
needs
ready to
to
go.
focus
All
on,
right,
I'm ready to
perfect.
go. I talk on it all the time.
Let's
So,
go. I haven't
yep.
heard it yet, so it would
Yeah.
be great. I've heard a million
Yeah.
people talk on it, but I've not
Yeah.
heard
So
you. And
I start with the focus on who you're being, that if you're not in abundance and you're not in the right energy space, no matter
okay, don't
what, it's
say
going to
anything
be
else. It's gonna be
challenging.
awesome. This is gonna be
Yeah.
awesome. All
Yeah.
right,
Awesome.
cool. All
All
right, I'll
right.
talk to you then.
Talk to you
Bye.
soon. Bye.
In this shift, this drastic shift in your life of stepping down from a career that you held for 14 years to take more of a strategic role to then,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I would think that people would be their life would be digressing, like it would be calming down a bit. And then you're like immediately into, well, I'm going to go revolutionize women's health. I'm like, okay. All right. So can we
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
the fire that
Yeah.
stays lit for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a powerful question, Mark. So the truth of the matter, and I'm going to start with money. The beginning of my career, highly motivated by money and significance, and I was able to create both. By 2004, before I had my awakening, as I would call it, I was, close to making $1 million, had the 7,000 square foot house, the beach house, like did very well, right? But the truth is I was miserable. And that is because I wasn't tapped in to my real purpose. So before that, I thought the purpose was impressing other people and gaining that significance. When I had my awakening and I realized how valuable the present moment is and how powerful we are in creating whatever life experience that we desire, that's what really allowed me to move forward with a new lens. And so, success and purpose can follow you from industry to industry because it's who I'm being that makes the biggest impact on what external success is. And so my purpose in my life is pulled through anything that I do. It is with an open heart, because I had to remove a lot of scaffolding before. And to really just share the wisdom that I have obtained on my journey in order to help people increase joy and reduce self-suffering. So we live in a first world country where we have what I call self-suffering. Now I'm not taking away anything from the people that have true trauma, and there are a lot of people out there we know statistically have real trauma. I'm talking about the trauma of overthinking or the trauma of stress or believing that, things are just overwhelming or hard. And so what I've found as I move from place to place in my career is that I get to bring that in and really be able to, up level the organization in a way that is powerful. And I only spend time on things that are good for the planet, which Good Leap was. Our main mission was to increase sustainability and the people, which now Minerva is really about revolutionizing women's health. My purpose has always stayed true. It is my North Star, and I also have a podcast called Power Up Your Life and a YouTube channel. I also have a mentorship program where we build funnels. We do a lot of things because I'm a multiplier. And, one of my greatest mentors, John Maxwell, really has helped guide me that we want to invest in multipliers, the people that I'm going to invest in, and then they're going to go out and invest in it. And so with Minerva, with physical well-being, I truly believe that part of the reason why female leadership numbers are so pathetic is that we are not in our best physically or emotionally in our 40s, 50s, and beyond because we haven't really found the right balance within our internal environment or our physical body. So, again, that was a big answer to your question, but I am industry agnostic. Scaling a business can transfer from any business. I've worked with many companies from, accessory dwelling units to, platforms in Europe that are helping bring buyers and sellers together in a better technology, induced world to a gut microbiome company. So I really just like to make a massive impact. So my big shift, Mark, that's happened, and when you get on this journey of self-actualization and learning how to create and manifest things in your future, given where you are today, when you're in that place, you truly embrace this idea that anything is possible, like anything. And so my greatest shift came from God. I'm very guided. When I semi-retired from Good Leap April 1st, I went to Europe for over a month, and I wasn't sure if I was just going to stay semi-retired and leave space for other things or what I was going to do. And what God really shared with me is that I had been a bridge for people for most of my life. I helped them get from one place to another. I could take somebody and remove their abundance blocks or help them shift out of what is or what was into what you desire. And I get to do that over and over. But the biggest thing now is that now I need to be the anchor and I need to work on broken systems. And our leadership system is broken and our women's healthcare is broken. And so that's really where my purpose is coming in today.
Yeah, and Jonas or Neff will edit this out, but we're gonna skip what we started with and use that as I'm gonna create a new lead-in for you. And we're gonna
Okay.
use that as the opening question for the start of the podcast. That was
Okay.
absolutely amazing. So you just gave me one of the greatest answers I've received on the Purpose Chasers, which fully encompasses how you got called to purpose.
Mm.
The one piece of this that I would love to know, as briefly as you can share, is you spoke so clearly every step of the way on your purpose, and you're stating like God guides you, but your parameters are very, very clear on where you can go, where you can't go. Like
Yeah.
it, how do you stay so
on the right, on, just stay in your
Yeah.
own lane, especially with you, where I know you're
Yeah.
just like you get, all the 7.99 free
Yeah.
trials thrown at you.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, one of the greatest challenges that we have is focus. And I do believe, whether you want to call it darkness, spiritual attack, you can call it just distraction, self-sabotage, programming, whatever it might be, is that, you know, where we get off track is when we don't go deep enough. And what we know is there's so much information out there. You could be at events in personal growth every single week. You could be reading all the time. You could be taking in all this information, but the law of action is where things are created. I just got to spend the weekend with Marie Diamond from The Secret, and what a powerful experience that was. Just being in her presence, because when you think about, most people believe the law of attraction is just about creating that vision for where you want to go, but it has to meet the law of action. And so you have to have really strong boundaries for your time and your energy. And they're non-negotiable for me. Now, I might get off track for a day. I might get off track for a couple days, but I know my human capacity for greatness, and I can only take on so many things. And so you've got to have this balance on a daily basis between like growing and taking action and being crystal clear on what your strategy is. When I talk to leaders, especially CEOs of companies, one of the greatest challenges with a visionary is that they don't really like to do some of the work, and yet you have to do some of the work in order to get the flow of energy moving. And so you kind of have to just look at it and say, I need to hire myself for the next 2 hours, sit down, do this, and then I can go back to doing some of these other things. So, I would tell you, just I have very strong boundaries for how I spend my time. I don't say yes to things very easily. I used to be a people pleaser, totally in recovery for that now. And I only say yes to people that have the level of energy that I want to bring into the world.
Softball. I mean, softball. Neff, edit that out. All right. Thank you so much. So Kelly, the tie that I would love to make, and then if you could identify and describe the difference between the different, or no, let's reframe. Neff, jump in here. Kelly, if you can share with me the tie-in between GoBundance Women, Big Voices, this
Yeah.
volunteer work that you're
Yeah.
doing, and then this new job that you have, this new career
Yeah.
path. Not, I'm going to call it a
Yeah.
job because I know who you are, this new career
Yeah.
path. I would just love to fill it in for everybody as to the three different tiers that you have, and then end
Yeah.
this episode by talking about your podcast would be
Yeah,
awesome.
first of all, I'd love to, like, I have to giggle that there's three. There's actually about seven active businesses right now. But I will talk about the three. So number one, GoBundance Women created a space for me that I didn't have before. You hear about being, the Lone Ranger, it's lonely at the top, you're superwoman. A challenge that many women experience is the opposite of what most do. And the experience is feeling like you're too much. I love variety. I love speed. I am like, my operating system, which is my brain, is something that I up level on a regular basis. And most people don't get that we're not our brains. People that will never get to the level of consciousness that some of us live at haven't found how to upgrade, their brain on a regular basis. And so they're victim to the thinking and the emotions that are created from the past or the present. I live one step ahead of where I am, and it takes training to really be able to get there. And so GoBundance came out of loneliness. That is 100% where it came from. I had tons of friends. I love my friends, but I had people that would say, like, when are you going to slow down? How are you going to stop? Now, the one thing that most people don't know is I have massive alignment in my life. I don't work more than 40 hours a week. I have massive self-care. I put myself first. I have really strong boundaries. So when I work, I'm just in my power. Like I'm able to do more in an hour than, most people can do in a day because of the laser focus that I bring to the table. And so GoBundance is my space to feel like I'm just right. And it's also a place that I meet a lot of my partners. Dr. Betty Murray, one of the leading hormone, metabolism specialists in the nation, is my business partner and co-founder of Minerva. And so that's kind of how it feeds into that. Minerva for me is the base level for getting to the level of consciousness that I think that we need in order for the world to be a better place, is to get better physical health. You can't have energy if your hormones are out of balance, your thyroid's out of balance, your gut's not healthy. If you aren't feeling right, look no further than your gut. 80% plus of your serotonin is made in your gut. And if your gut's not healthy, you won't feel healthy. And then you aren't going to go chase your purpose, right? So that's how that exists there. And then what I would say, just for the other things that I do, whether it's the gut microbiome company or working with Give Power or nonprofit or still being a part of Goodly, they all feed my soul. Like they all feed my soul. And that's how they all come together, because I know I wasn't given the path that I've been on, and it's been rough. I'm not going to lie. Like some people look at my life and they're like, oh, it must be easy. Like you have created this level of wealth or health or connection or business. I've done that while I was mourning, the loss of my niece last year, mourning the loss of my sister who is going to be in a mental institution for some unforeseen amount of time, the loss of my mom at a really early age from dementia. I go through and experience loss just like everyone else. The difference is I experience it differently. Like I found a way to experience joy and pain simultaneously and never take my eyes off of what I want to create. And that's where your purpose gets fun, because when you know your purpose is so strong in your life that nothing in the present moment or what's happened in the past is going to impact it, like you're able to navigate multiple things simultaneously.
I apologize for only being able to have the time to talk about three of your seven ventures, but I just felt like they all fed so nicely
No,
as
that's it's humorous sometimes, and you and I are very similar in that we're
yeah.
creatives, right? Like we like to create multiple spaces.
Which, speaking of your creative, with all that you're doing, and for those of you who are not like have no clue what GoBundance is, can you just give a quick 30
Yeah,
second explainer
sure.
so these any women that may be like, what
Yeah,
is GoBundance, know what
yeah.
it is?
So GoBundance Women is a mastermind community for females that want to scale their business, their career, or their investment portfolios without sacrificing relationships or health. And then that differs from my Big Voices platform, which I didn't talk a little bit about, which is more of a community and coaching program to be able to build unshakable confidence so that you can get to that next level.
And with all of that, what led you to start your podcast and then
Yeah,
dot, dot, dot? I'm gonna
yeah,
let Kelly give a little explainer, hit the success that
yeah,
it's had, as
yeah,
fast as it has. Although I know you're nothing to do with you is overnight success. So can
yeah.
you share on that to end this
Yeah,
episode?
absolutely. So the podcast, Power Up Your Life Now, we just hit number 4 on Apple and careers, which I love the impact that we get to make in people that are, really looking at their business or their career and just wondering like what is next? What we know to be true about humans is we get into homeostasis really quickly, which means boredom. And we need to be growing at all times in order to feel that energy. That's what creates the energy of next level at all times. And that's really where it was, is that Mandy, my business partner in GoBundance Women, and then in Power Up Your Life and powerupyourlifenow.com platform, where we help bring resources to the table, came from this idea that, man, like we've heard, success leaves clues. How can we bring people on who have a powerful story, but they also have actionable steps that you can put into place every day. Like, again, so much information. We've got to be able to put these things into action. So, like, just from this call today, what I would tell your listeners is that when you think about your purpose, and it could start with a word for now. Number one, write it down and look at it every single day. When you embody your purpose, like when I mean like fully embody your purpose, all of these opportunities will start to present themselves for you to live on purpose, right? The second action that I would tell you to take is to create a new emotional narrative for your life, which means really documenting how you want to feel. Your brain, again, being old technology, it's the same technology that our ancestors had when they lived in the wild and they had to look at the cave door to make sure nothing was going to come to get them, whatever that might be. It's old technology. You have to learn and make a decision to upgrade your thinking, upgrade your emotion, but you won't be able to do that until you start telling your brain what to do, right? The third thing that I would tell you is to really make a decision that every single experience that you have, every single one, is the best next step for you to grow. You know, we hear life happens for you, and I know I answered more than your question, but Mark, you know me. I want to make the biggest impact to your listeners that I can. When you experience life that way, you will start to feel excited and humbled by the things that go wrong, that you didn't realize that there was still a wound in there that you needed to expose in order to get to the next level, because this is a journey in enlightenment and consciousness. And I can stay in joy pretty much 365 days out of the year in spite of things that happen, and know that everything's always working out okay for me. It always will. And failures make us stronger. And those are the types of messages that we really like to share on the podcast, so that people not only can power up their business, they can also power up their life.
We'll have a link. Oh, drop the mic. We'll restart that. We'll have a link to your podcast in the show
Amazing.
notes. Kelly, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate your time, and I'm also excited to interview you on the Scale to Sale podcast
Me
as well.
too.
Final thing, we're 2 minutes over. I told you we would be, I thought we would be close, but you went long on the last one. Final thing, as we wrap this episode, what does it mean to you to be one of the purpose chasers?
Oh, I am so blessed. Like, I look at my life experience and my awakening that happened at an early age. You know, it started with my mom getting diagnosed with dementia at 57, and created this path that I get to help so many people all over the world. And I am just so blessed. And being able to share here, being able to share on stages, being able to share, you know, on the podcast, in the communities that I support, and now in the women's, you know, health space, like no other word describes it except for just completely blessed. The second word I'm going to add is I feel responsible. I feel responsible. And it's not so other people don't make the mistakes that made me who I am. It's because awakening more people to do good by people on the planet is going to ensure the survival a lot longer than it would otherwise of humans. And, you know, I feel responsible for that.
And there's no greater time in humanity. And I want to wrap the episode by stating this. There is a difference between being a victim and playing one. And the difference is victims stay down and blame all of their circumstances off of the
Yeah.
past. And victims or people who are victims of circumstances get after it, like
Yeah.
Kelly and I.
Yep.
Kelly, so grateful for you. I look forward to continuing to watch you grow. Go check out our podcast. And until next episode, go get after it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Purpose Chasers podcast. If today's episode hit home, don't just listen, engage. Follow me on Spotify, drop a review, and join the conversation over on YouTube at The Purpose Chasers or on Instagram at Organic Nerdword. This is more than a podcast, it's a movement. And if you're here, you're already part of it. Remember, no amount of darkness can keep someone who's been called. So keep chasing, keep building, and keep standing in your purpose. I'm Mark Crandall, signing off until next time. Let's get it.